Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Trevor. Very grateful to have you here. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the last 15 fragrances that I rocked in my rotation this October 2024. Starting off in no particular and a non-chronological order, Moschino's Toy Boy. This is a really nice, dry, bitter green rose with some birdseed style flax accord and a fruity pear to kind of balance it all out. Something that is divisive, can smell like a granny, but for me personally, I pull compliments with this one, and it's one of my favorite rose fragrances and rainy day fragrances. Moschino's Toy Boy. Next, Dior Eau Sauvage Parfum, the 2017 re-release. This is a really nice, dry, lemony smell over the top of some woody, sort of black licorice and a barbershop lavender. The lavender is pretty loud and prominent, gives it a mature feel, but they have done it in a way that I think appeals to modern audiences while keeping that timeless scent profile. Kind of like a root beer garnished with a lemon with a barbershop centerpiece. This is a really beautiful fragrance and one that would be in the running for a personal signature scent if I were to narrow down my collection like that. Tom Ford Noir Extreme. This is the regular Eau de Parfum version, and this is something I've been testing out. I've had the Parfum for a little while. That one's got a nice little bit of an added animalic, leathery aspect to it. I wanted to see if this one was maybe a little bit more fall appropriate, and that one being more for the winter. And I would say that that is an appropriate conclusion to make, although I think I still would just prefer to get the Parfum, but that one is rather expensive. And this one is a nice wearing experience, but I think it sits a little bit close to the skin also. So some of the downsides of the Parfum I think are also a downside with this one. So the only reason I wouldn't get the Parfum, in my opinion, is price point. But this was still a decent wearing experience. But yeah, just wasn't all that stand out to me, I think, just because I've been spoiled by the Parfum scent profile already. Next, we had Tom Ford Oud Wood, kind of like a classic fall staple to me. Really nice, cold, cool, sleek, polished scent profile. Reminds me a little bit of acrylic craft paint. It's got this woody textural feel, but the overall scent profile has this very sterile, clean quality to it, while that subtle sweetness, I think there's this creamy rosewood aspect going into this, and it just has such a good, smooth, cold, woody, polished aspect to it. It just reminds me of really nice, well-polished wood furniture with a nice stain to it. So yeah, like a wood furnishing stain scent profile. I get a little bit of that from this, as well as that acrylic paint accord. Really just a great signature scent, another one that would be in the running for something that I would wear all the time if I were to narrow down my collection. Tom Ford's Oud Wood, and that's a more modern bottle, and I still get a pretty good longevity out of that one, probably like 5 to 6 hours. The next one that I rocked, this is Cartier Declaration D'un Soir Intense, and I wore this one out to a anniversary dinner with my wife. We went to the Melting Pot. It's this fondue place. I got a lot of steak, as well as some cheese and fruits and desserts. It was really a nice spread meal, and we had a good time. My parents were watching the kids. They laid out rose petals for us at the table, and this is a rose dominant fragrance. Really beautiful, jammy rose surrounded by some dark spices and peppery nuances. Absolute stunning juice. One of my favorite rose fragrances. Could be my absolute favorite rose fragrance. Hard to say. It's got some good competition, but really awesome companion for that anniversary dinner. Next one we have here, Fougere Gothique. This is from Barrister and Mann. They're a shaving foam company, and this is somewhat of a, how do I want to say, a novelty fragrance. It's something that I picked up for the spooky season, and I'm really not disappointed. It is a little bit divisive because it has a really strong, earthy, soil, dirt-like opening to it, but it begins to unfold into a really nice, well put together fougere. It's got definitely some cold tones to it and aspects that I would say are very acquired tastes. Definitely appeals to people that are interested in wearing fragrances in accordance with nature. It's somebody that would love the sense of the earth and the soil mingled in with a really nice, well put together shaving foam lavender scent profile. That is probably something that they're specializing in, being a shaving foam company. But overall, this was a really nice wearing experience. I think I wore this out the day that we went to do a couple of autumnal festive events. I think we did some pumpkin patch picking and corn maze sort of festivities that day. I think we went and picked up the kids' costumes from Spirit Halloween. Was rocking this one for all that sort of fall festivity ongoings. It was a really fine fragrance for all of that. I think it played pretty well with the farm atmosphere when we were at the corn maze and the pumpkin patch. Next one, picked this one up. Didn't really intend to buy it, but I saw it going for a good price. This is actually a tester which came with a cap, Jubilation 40. Was able to get it for $249.99, and a little bit disappointed. I think my initial sentiments are going to be mirroring that of people who have tried this before me. I find the original bottle that I have a little bit better wearing of an experience than this one. This one I find to be, its textural feel a little bit overly oily, and its nuance is toned down. I think the original had these nice flowy aspects to its varying ingredient list, while this one is very punchy in terms of its fruity quality. So it's this oily, fruity quality up top. However, not saying I dislike this fragrance. I actually quite enjoy it. I just find that I enjoy the original a little bit more, but this that fruity quality is something that I find. One of the things I do like quite a bit about this is that fruity fragrances, I feel I don't gravitate towards as much. I find them a little bit effeminate, but this is a really nice resinous, dark, fruity fragrance that I feel like I can get away with wearing. And this is the only fragrance in the list that I ended up wearing twice over this period. So definitely something that glad to have in the collection. A little bit disappointed in that I would just rather own the original, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend picking this one up over the original, but this is something that, as far as having a fruity fragrance, this is going to be one of my top picks if I'm looking for that scent profile. Next, we had Terre Mes Parfum. This is one that I ended up wearing to a photo shoot. Me, the wife, and the kids got family photos done out at a autumnal setting with like a bridge and the changing colored leaves and everything at a forest ground. And this was something that I wore that evening. I believe this was a scent that I wore that night. The other fragrance that I wore during the daytime on the same day as that fragrance was this Serge Lutens Ombre Sultan. And earlier on in the day, that day, we went to a trunk or treat event. My kids were Bingo and Bluey, and my daughter was running around getting some candy from the trunk or treat event. And this was what I was wearing for those more Halloween oriented festivities during the daytime. Really great fragrance in terms of just it's got some nice contrast. It's a really beautiful amber fragrance, but unlike something like MFK Grand Soir, I find that this one, with this oregano note and this green spicy quality that it brings to the table, and gives it this dimensionality that I find other amber oriented fragrances are very much lacking in. And this is definitely one of my favorite autumn fragrances in general. Definitely looking forward to wearing this one a lot more throughout the course of this remaining October season, as well as transitioning into November. Another great transitional fragrance, 1 Million Lucky. So I wore this one, I think, at a night shift for work. Just a really easy to wear fragrance for those days that are very mixed in temperature, I want to say. There's been some days where the low of the day was 29 Fahrenheit and the high for that same day was like the mid 70s, so definitely been going through a lot of waking up in the morning with frost on the ground and then moving into having to kind of wet some or dry some sweat from your brow later on in the afternoon. This was just one that I loved for that reason. The fruity, airy the airy texture and the fruity scent profile lend it to being something that is easy to wear, but then there's this nice, dense, almost caramel-like sweetness that it brings to the table also. That just make this a perfect transitional fragrance and something great for an evening here in the autumn season. 1 Million Lucky, I think getting harder to find, limited print at the moment. Still can get it full retail at places like Macy's, I believe, but definitely doesn't show up as often on discounters anymore. Tumi 19 Degree, this is kind of an upset fragrance. I wasn't expecting much from it, but definitely looking forward to trying some more from the brand now. This one is not necessarily my speed, just because it's kind of an Aventus clone, and I'm a little bit exhausted with that scent profile. That being said, I think this is still pretty wearable and something that I think I would reach for over Cedrat Boisé Intense in the autumn season. This one, like the Intense Cedrat Boisé, brings some leather to the Aventus scent profile, but this one kind of also has a Tuscan leather vibe, but with a raspberry fruity quality intermingling in with that leather and Aventus vibe. So it gives this very kind of, if you're familiar with Perry Ellis America, this is reminding me of that a little bit, where the incensey myrrh in that fragrance is replaced by leather in here, and very much a compliment, polar, loud, projector, and long-lasting fragrance. So it covers all those bases. It's just a little bit youthful and generic for me, but something that if you're looking for compliments, this is definitely one I would recommend. Don't spend more than $100 on that though. I've seen it come up for less than that at discounters, and I just feel like it's you know, just because of the redundancy of the Aventus profile, I think you wouldn't want to spend more than $100 on that. Artisan fragrance, Olympic Orchids Night Flyer, and this is, I believe, the original formulation of Zoologist Bat. The perfumer is the same, listed for both fragrances. This, however, if you're not familiar with the bat from Zoologist, it's kind of like, if you've ever been to like a zoo and you're going down into the like reptile areas, or just areas where they're dimly lit, or the animals are supposed to be nocturnal, and there's like, you're kind of like in a cave and there's this wet smell in the air, almost like mildew-esque, and then there's some fruits laying nearby. So this has like this banana fig earthy dirt feel to it. It's definitely an artistic fragrance, something that I think is great for this spooky Halloween season, but is a little bit impractical to wear all the time, I want to say. Polarizing for sure, but it is unique, and I find pretty wearable myself. I think that contrast of the fruity qualities, in addition to the damp, earthy, cave-like aspects, comes together in a way that has enough contrast for me that just seems easily wearable. But my wife did comment that I just smelled like dirt when I was wearing this. So definitely, I would say sample this one if you haven't, but I think this is a great little spooky season novelty pick. Leather Jardin from Zara. This is the older style bottles. I saw that Zara's official website says coming soon on their listing of the newer bottle types. They've been sold out for a while. Great fragrance, callback to vintage perfumery, but it's modernized. Very green, galbanum, leathery, rose, floral, bright, sparkly citrus. It's just a very elegant, simple style fragrance that I absolutely adore. Definitely one of my favorites of all 15 fragrances mentioned here in terms of the wearing experience. Absolutely adore this one. Great little cheapy Leather Jardin from Zara. Definitely check it out and keep your eye on it for when it restocks. Nishane Nefs. This is something that is talked about with a lot of hype, and I think it's a great fragrance, but I think it's, I don't know, I don't think it doesn't really wow me. just because I wish that it were a little bit stronger. It wears nice and softly. For me, at least, I mean, I don't know. I think Sebastian, the perfume guy, also has reservations about this particular fragrance. He says it kind of just smells like bug spray or like citronella candles. And I can kind of see that, but there's a lot of nuance going on in here. To me, I get something like a little bit of a floral cinnamon toast crunch. So there's kind of like this honeyed cinnamon dry feeling going on. Then the rose is kind of a big player for me in here, that giving it floral texture as well as a little bit of a jammy sweetness. Just something that I don't know if I find is quite hype worthy as it is, but I have fallen more in love with it in the autumn season. I picked this up last winter, and I think it was a little bit soft for the winter season for me personally. And I think in the autumn right now, it has just been shining a lot more brightly. So looking forward to wearing a little bit more of this one. Definitely one of my favorite roses in my rotation right now. And then finally, the last fragrance I'm going to speak about is Gucci Guilty Elixir, kind of like a richer, more root beer float-oriented Amouage Reflection Man. Giving this one another chance. I picked it up in the springtime, didn't quite enjoy it as much. I found it a little bit too heavy for that season. Wanted to try it out again here in the autumn, see how it plays out then, but I'm still of the camp that either Reflection 45 or the original Reflection are the better pick, but I have a personal bias against this Gucci just because it's got an orange blossom note, and that's a note that I don't really get along with. So it's a detracting, textural, chalky feel that note brings to the table that kind of puts me off of this one. But maybe worth checking out. I do enjoy the kind of sweet, creamy quality that this one has and that little bit of a root beer float feel. But for me, I think Reflection is the way to go versus this one, and this is just a pass for me right now. So those were the last 15 fragrances that I rocked in my rotation. Let me know what you've been wearing this October in the comment section down below. And as always, I really appreciate you sticking with me to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.